You slide the drive in, and the folder is empty, corrupted, nothing. The whole wedding was on there, every face from a day you can't gather in one room again, and the screen just says, empty. And your stomach drops a half second before your mind even catches up. Or it's smaller than that. The button comes off the shirt an hour before you leave, the shirt you'd already seen yourself in, and it sits there in your palm, and just like that, there's no version of tonight where you still walk in wearing it. And then you do something strange. You reach again. You open the folder a second time, like it might have refilled. You turn the button over in your fingers like it might reattach. You already know it's gone. You reach anyway. Here's what nobody has ever told you. That reaching isn't you being dramatic. It isn't you overreacting to something small. What your mind is doing in that moment is one of the most specific, most misunderstood things a person can go through. And the fact that no one ever explained it to you is exactly why you've spent years quietly believing something is wrong with you. There isn't. Stay with me, because by the end of this you're going to understand why a small thing can level you when big things didn't, and you're never going to call yourself dramatic for it again. Because it doesn't add up, does it? It's a drive. It's a button. You've handled real losses, heavy ones, and stood back up. And now a small thing goes wrong and it sits on your chest all day, and some quiet part of you is embarrassed by how much it hurts. It's just a drive. Why am I like this? You're not like anything. Let me show you what's actually happening. Think about what you'd already done before it broke. You'd already lived it. Not the object, the life around the object. You'd opened that drive in your head 100 times, walked back into that day whenever you wanted it. You'd already seen yourself in that shirt, walking into the room, being met the way you wanted to be met. Your mind had moved in. It had furnished the place. It was already living there. And here's how a mind actually comes back from a loss. And it's not what you'd guess. We don't recover by admitting a thing happened. We recover by explaining it. By reaching some understanding we can set the thing down inside of. This is the finding two psychologists, Timothy Wilson and Daniel Gilbert, mapped out in 2008. We notice, we feel, we reach for a reason. And the moment it makes sense, the moment it fits somewhere, the feeling loosens on its own. You have a kind of quiet machinery for this, running under everything, turning events into sense, so the ache can fade. It's the whole reason last year's disaster is just a story now. But that machinery needs one thing to run, a reason, something to explain. And that's the trap, because the losses we get over fastest are the ones that make the most sense, the ones with a cause, a lesson, someone to blame. And the losses that haunt us are the ones that don't. Their research found exactly this. The harder an event is to explain, the longer the feeling stays. Not the bigger event, the more senseless one. And a broken drive is about as senseless as it gets. No reason, no lesson, no villain. The drive just failed. The thread just gave out. So the machine that's supposed to turn this into sense gets handed nothing to work with, and it just keeps circling. So picture it like a room you'd already moved into, the future with the thing still in it. You'd hung things on the walls, and then, in 1 second, the door is bricked over. The room is still furnished in your mind. You can see all of it, but you can't get in. And you keep going back to where the door used to be and putting your hand flat on the wall. That's the reach. That's you at the empty folder, at the loose button, standing at a doorway that isn't there anymore, feeling for a handle that's gone. Now here's the part that explains the shame, and it has nothing to do with you being weak. Nobody ever taught you the difference between the object and the life around it. So when the object breaks, you reach for the only word you have. It's just a drive. And that word is far too small for what you're actually feeling, and the gap between them becomes the embarrassment. And it goes deeper than that. Think about how the big losses actually worked. When something huge happens, the world hands you the machinery to make sense of it. There's a cause, or a ritual, or people in the room with you, or at least a story everyone agrees to tell. You're allowed to grieve it out loud, and everyone around you helps you build the understanding you set it down inside of. But a drive, a button, you get none of that. No ritual, no witnesses, no permission. You're supposed to just shrug it off. So you grieve it alone, in silence, half ashamed, with none of the tools the big losses came with. It was never that this loss was smaller. It's that you were handed nothing to make sense of it with. That's not a flaw in you. That's a gap in what you were given. And this is where the people around you hand you exactly the wrong thing. It's just a drive, they say. Buy another shirt. It's not the end of the world. And every one of those makes it worse, because they're arguing with the size of the feeling instead of the shape of it. And you cannot argue a real feeling smaller. Or they say, everything happens for a reason, and you stand there at the wall knowing that's a lie, because this one didn't. It just happened. So here's the thing that actually lets you step back. You are not upset about a drive. You are not upset about a button. You are grieving a version of your life you'd already moved into. That's what broke. Not a device, a doorway back to a day. Not a shirt, one version of how tonight was going to go. Listen to that again. You're grieving a future you'd already lived. Of course it hurts. It was never small. You just had the wrong name on it. And once you understand that, there are 4 things you can actually do. Not to force the feeling away, but to give that stuck machinery the one thing it was never handed. Because the loss denied you your sense-making. These 4 steps give it back. Step 1. Name it true. Out loud. Not in your head. Out loud. Because out loud it's harder to argue with. The sentence goes like this. I'm not grieving the drive. I'm grieving a doorway back to that day. I'm not grieving the button. I'm grieving one version of how tonight was going to go. That's not word games. A grief-sized ache has been wearing a drive-sized name, and a feeling can't rest against the wrong name no matter how long you wait. Give it the true one, and for the first time it fits. Step 2. Separate the door from the room. Take the loss apart on purpose and sort it into 2 piles. What's actually gone and what's kept. The day itself, that happened. It's real. You were there. It's already inside you. That's kept. What's gone is the copy. The occasion, you'll still go, you'll still be you in that room. That's kept. What's gone is one imagined way of walking in. When you actually do this, the loss shrinks to its true size, which is always smaller than the whole room felt. You lost the door. You did not lose the room. Step 3. Give it a ritual, however small. This is the one people skip, and it's the one that does the quiet, heavy lifting. Big losses come with rituals. That's not decoration. That's how humans manufacture closure. Small losses come with none, so you have to make one. Delete the corrupted file on purpose. Instead of leaving it to haunt the folder, put the button in a drawer instead of the bin. One small, deliberate act that says, this mattered, and it's over. You're building the scaffolding the loss refused to give you. Step 4. Tell one person the true version. Not, my drive broke. They'll tell you to get over it, and they'll be right about the drive and wrong about you. Say the real thing. I lost the only copy of a day I can't get back, and it's hitting me harder than it should. Grief needs a witness. Said to someone who actually receives it, the true sentence finally has somewhere to land. There was someone who lost the only recording of a parent's voice when an old phone died. Nobody could talk them out of it. It's just a phone. And every attempt only made it worse. What moved them wasn't getting over it. It was the day they said the true thing out loud to one person. I'm not grieving a phone. I'm grieving the last of their voice. And the ache didn't vanish. It just, finally, had a shape it could sit down in. Same person, same loss. One true sentence. And that's the thing to understand about all 4 of these. They are not steps toward feeling better. They are the thing itself. The feeling was never going to settle against the wrong name, in a loss with no ritual, that no one else was allowed to witness. You could stand at that bricked wall for a month, give the machinery its reason back, the true name, the true size, the ritual, the witness. And the settling isn't something you do next. It's already happening, the second it fits. You already lived there. That part is kept. You carried the room out with you the whole time. You were in that room. Only the door is gone. So let me ask you, what's the small thing that wrecked you more than it should have? The drive, the button, a playlist, a chair, a route you used to drive? Tell me in the comments. Be specific, because I read every one, and I promise you, you are not the only person it happened to. If this finally handed you the words for something you've been carrying and quietly judging yourself for, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.